When it was the 12th night, she continued, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the calender thus went on with his story before the lady and the Caliph and Ja'afar. My uncle struck his son with his slipper as he lay there a black heap of coal. I marvelled at his hardness of heart, and grieving for my cousin and lady, said, By Allah, O my uncle, calm thy wrath. Dost thou not see that all my thoughts are occupied with this misfortune, and how sorrowful I am for what hath befallen thy son? And how horrible it is that not of him remaineth but a black heap of charcoal, and is not that enough, that thou must smite him with thy slipper? Answered he, O son of my brother, this youth from his boyhood was madly in love with his own sister, and often I forbade him from her, saying to myself, They are but little ones. However, when they grew up, sin befell between them, and although I could hardly believe it, I confined him, and chided him, and threatened him with the severest threats, and the eunuchs and servants said to him, Beware of so foul a thing which none before thee ever did, and which none after thee will ever do, and have a care lest thou be dishonoured and disgraced among the kings of the day, even to the end of time. And I added, Such a report as this will be spread abroad by caravans, and take heed not to give them cause to talk, or I will assuredly curse thee and do thee to death. After that I lodged them apart and shut her up. But the accursed girl loved him with passionate love, for Satan had got the mastery of her as well as of him, and made their foul sin seem fair in their sight. Now, when my son saw that I separated them, he secretly built this souterrain, and furnished it and transported to it victuals, even as thou seest. And when I had gone out of Burton, came here with his sister, and hid from me. Then his righteous judgment fell upon the twain, and consumed them with fire from heaven. And verily the last judgment will deal them durer pains and more enduring. Then he wept, and I wept with him, and he looked at me, and said, Thou art my son in his stead. And I bethought me awhile of the world, and of its chances, how the Wazir had slain my father, and had taken his place, and had put out my eye, and how my cousin had come to his death by the strangest chance, and I wept again, and my uncle wept with me. Then we mounted the steps, and let down the iron plate, and heaped up the earth over it, and after restoring the tomb to its former condition, we returned to the palace. But hardly had we sat down ere we heard the tom-tooming of the kettle-drum and tandero of trumpets and clash of cymbals, and the rattling of war-men's lances, and the clamours of assailants, and the clanking of bits, and the neighing of steeds, while the world was canopied with dense dust and sand-clouds raised by the horses' hoofs. We were amazed at sight and sound, knowing not what could be the matter, so we asked, and were told us that the Wazir who usurped my father's kingdom had marched his men, and that after levying his soldiery and taking a host of wild Arabs into service, he had come down upon us with armies like the sands of the sea. Their number none could tell, and against them none could prevail. They attacked the city unawares, and the citizens, being powerless to oppose them, surrendered the place. My uncle was slain, and I made for the suburbs, saying to myself, If thou fall into this villain's hands, he will assuredly kill thee. On this wise all my troubles were renewed, and I pondered all that had betided my father and my uncle, and I knew not what to do. For if the city people or my father's troops had recognized me, they would have done their best to win favor by destroying me, and I could think of no way to escape save by shaving off my beard and my eyebrows. So I shore them off, and, changing my fine clothes for Calendar's rags, I fared forth from my uncle's capital and made for the city, hoping that peradventure some one would assist me to the presence of the Prince of the Faithful, and the Caliph who is the vicegerent of Allah upon earth. Thus have I come hither that I might tell him my tale and lay my case before him. I arrived here this very night, and was standing in doubt whither I should go, when suddenly I saw this second calendar, so I sallied to him, saying, I am a stranger, and he answered, I too am a stranger. And as we were conversing, behold, up came our companion, this third calendar, and saluted us, saying, I am a stranger. And we answered, We too be strangers. Then we three walked on and together till darkness overtook us, and destiny drave us to your house. Such, then, is the cause of the shaving of my beard and mustachios and eyebrows, and the manner of my losing my right eye. They marvelled much at this tale, and the Caliph said to Ja'afar, By Allah, I have not seen, nor have I heard the like of what hath happened to this calendar. Quoth the lady of the house, Rub thy head and wend thy ways. But he replied, I will not go, till I hear the history of the two others. Thereupon the second calendar came forward, and kissing the ground, began to tell the second calendar's tale. "No, O my lady, that I was not born one-eyed, and mine is a strange story, and yet it were graven with needle graver on the eye corners. It were a warner to whoso would be warned. I am a king, son of a king, and was brought up like a prince. I learned intoning the Koran according the 7 schools, and I read all manner books, and held disputations on their contents with the doctors and men of science. Moreover, I studied star lore and the fair sayings of poets, and I exercised myself in all branches of learning until I surpassed the people of my time. My skill in calligraphy exceeded that of all the scribes, and my fame was bruited abroad over all climes and cities, and all the kings learned to know my name. Amongst others, the king of Hind heard of me and sent to my father to invite me to his court, with offerings and presents and rarities, such as befit royalties. So my father fitted out 6 ships for me and my people, and we put to sea and sailed for the space of a full month, till we made the land. Then we brought out the horses that were with us in the ships, and after loading the camels with our presents for the prince, we set forth inland. But we had marched only a little way, when behold, a dust cloud upflew and grew until it walled the horizon from view. After an hour or so the veil lifted, and discovered beneath it 50 horsemen, ravening lions to the sight, in steel armor decked. We observed them slowly, and lo, they were cutters off of the highway, wild as wild Arabs. When they saw that we were only 4, and had with us but the 10 camels carrying the presents, they dashed down upon us with lances at rest. We signed to them with our fingers, as it were saying, "We be messengers of the great king of Hind, so harm us not." But they answered on likewise, "We are not in his dominions to obey, nor are we subject to his sway." Then they set upon us, and slew some of my slaves, and put the lave to flight, and I also fled after I had gotten a wound, a grievous hurt, whilst the Arabs were taken up with the money and the presents which were with us. I went forth unknowing whither I went, having become mean as I was mighty, and I fared on until I came to the crest of a mountain, where I took shelter for the night in a cave. When day arose I set out again, nor ceased after this fashion till I arrived at a fair city and a well filled. Now it was the season when winter was turning away with his rime, and to greet the world with his flowers came prime, and the young blooms were springing, and the streams flowed ringing, and the birds were sweetly singing, as saith the poet concerning a certain city when describing it, a place secure from every thought of fear, safety and peace for every lord it here. Its beauty seemed to beautify its sons, and as in heaven its happy folk appear. I was glad of my arrival, for I was wearied at the way, and yellow of face for weakness and want. But my plight was pitiable, and I knew not whither to betake me. So I accosted a tailor sitting in his little shop, and saluted him. He returned my salam, and bade me kindly welcome, and wished me well, and entreated me gently, and asked me of the cause of my strangerhood. I told him all my past from first to last, and he was concerned on my account, and said, "O youth, disclose not thy secret to any. The king of this city is the greatest enemy thy father hath, and there is blood-wit between them, and thou hast cause to fear for thy life." Then he set meat and drink before me, and I ate and drank, and he with me, and we conversed freely till nightfall, when he cleared me a place in a corner of his shop, and brought me a carpet and a coverlet. I tarried with him 3 days, at the end of which time he said to me, "Knowest thou no calling whereby to win thy living, O my son?" "I am learned in the law," I replied, "and a doctor of doctrine, and adept in art and science, a mathematician, and a notable penman." He rejoined, "Thy calling is of no account in our city, where not a soul understandeth science, or even writing or aught, save money-making." Then said I, "By Allah, I know nothing but what I have mentioned." And he answered, "Gird thy middle, and take thee a hatchet and a cord, and go and hew wood in the wold for thy daily bread, till Allah send thee relief, and tell none who thou art, lest they slay thee." Then he bought me an axe and a rope, and gave me in charge to certain woodcutters, and with these guardians I went forth into the forest, where I cut fuel wood the whole of my day, and came back in the evening bearing my bundle on my head. I sold it for half a dinar, with part of which I bought provision and laid by the rest. In such work I spent a whole year, and when this was ended I went out one day, as was my wont, into the wilderness, and wandering away from my companions, I chanced on a thickly grown low land in which there was an abundance of wood. So I entered, and I found the gnarled stump of a great tree, and loosened the ground about it, and shovelled away the earth. Presently my hatchet rang upon a copper ring, so I cleared away the soil, and behold, the ring was attached to a wooden trap-door. This I raised, and there appeared beneath it a staircase. I descended the steps to the bottom, and came to a door, which I opened, and found myself in a noble hall, strong of structure and beautifully built. Where was a damsel like a pearl of great price, whose favour banished from my heart all grief and cark and care, and whose soft speech healed the soul in despair and captivated the wise and wearer? Her figure measured 5 feet in height, her breasts were firm and upright, her cheek a very garden of delight, her colour lively bright, her face gleamed like dawn through curly tresses which gloomed like night, and above the snows of her bosom glittered teeth of a pearly white. As the poet said of one like her, slim-waisted, lubbling, jetty hair and crowned, a wand of willow on a sandy mound. And as saith another, 4 things that meet not, save they here unite, to shed my heart blood and to rape my sprite. Brilliant his forehead, tresses jetty bright, cheeks rosy red, and stature beauty dight. When I looked upon her, I prostrated myself before him who had created her, for the beauty and loveliness he had shaped in her. And she looked at me and said, Art thou man or jinni? I am a man, answered I. And she, Now who brought thee to this place where I have abided 25 years without even yet seeing man in it? Quoth I. And indeed I found her words wonder sweet, and my heart was melted to the core by them. O my lady, my good fortune led me hither for the dispelling of my cark and care. Then I related to her all my mishap from first to last, and my case appeared to her exceeding grievous. So she wept and said, I will tell thee my story in my turn. I am the daughter of the King Iphidamas, lord of the islands of Abnus, who married me to my cousin, the son of my paternal uncle. But on my wedding night an Ifrit named Jurges ben Rujmus, first cousin that is, mother's sister's son of Iblis, the foul fiend, snatched me up, and flying away with me like a bird, set me down in this place, whither he conveyed all I needed of fine stuffs, raiment, and jewels, and furniture, and meat, and drink, and other else. Once in every 10 days he comes here, and lies a single night with me, and then wends his way, for he took me without the consent of his family, and he hath agreed with me, that if ever I need him by night or by day, I have only to pass my hand over yonder 2 lines engraved upon the alcove, and he will appear to me before my fingers cease touching. 4 days have now passed since he was here, and as there remain 6 days before he come again, say me, wilt thou abide with me 5 days, and go hence the day before his coming? I replied, yes, and yes again. O rare, if all this be not a dream. Gonorrhea, she was glad, and, springing to her feet, seized my hand and carried me through an arched doorway to a hammam bath, a fair hall and richly decorated. I doffed my clothes, and she doffed hers. Then we bathed, and she washed me, and when this was done we left the bath. And she seated me by her side upon a high divan, and brought me sherbet scented with musk. When we felt cool after the bath, she set food before me, and we ate and fell to talking. But presently she said to me, Lay thee down and take thy rest, for surely thou must be weary. So I thanked her, my lady, and lay down and slept soundly, forgetting all that had happened to me. When I awoke, I found her rubbing and shampooing my feet, so I again thanked her and blessed her, and we sat for a while talking. Said she, By Allah, I was sad at heart, for that I have dwelt alone underground for these 25 years, and praise be to Allah who hath sent me some one with whom I can converse. Then she asked, O youth, what sayest thou to wine? And I answered, Do as thou wilt. Whereupon she went to a cupboard, and took out a sealed flask of right old wine, and set off the table with flowers and scented herbs, and began to sing these lines. Had we known of thy coming, we fain had dispread the cores of our hearts or the balls of our eyes. Our cheeks as a carpet to greet thee had thrown, and our eyelids had strown for thy feet to betread. Now when she finished her verse, I thanked her, for indeed love of her had gotten hold of my heart, and my grief and anguish were gone. We sat at converse and carousel till nightfall, and with her I spent the night such night never spent I in all my life. On the morrow delight followed delight till midday, by which time I had drunken wine so freely that I had lost my wits, and stood up, staggering to the right and to the left, and said, Come, O my charmer, and I will carry thee up from this underground vault, and deliver thee from the spell of thy jinni. She laughed and replied, Content thee, and hold thy peace. Of every 10 days 1 is for the Ifrit, and the other 9 are thine. Quoth I, and in good sooth drink had got the better of me. This very instant will I break down the alcove whereon is graven the talisman, and summon the Ifrit, that I may slay him, for it is a practice of mine to slay Ifrits. When she heard my words, her colour waxed wan, and she said, By Allah, do not. And she began repeating, This is a thing wherein destruction lies. I rede thee shun it, and thy wits be wise. And these also, O thou who seekest severance, draw the rein. of thy swift steed, nor seek o'ermuch to advance. Ah, stay, for treachery is the rule of life, in sweets of meeting, and in severance. I heard her verse, but paid no heed to her words. Nay, I raised my foot, and administered to the alcove a mighty kick. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased to say her permitted say.